Melting sea ice in the March of Benji. Once upon a time, there lived a young chick named Benji. Benji lived with his parents and the other emperor penguins in the South Pole. Their population was high and there was enough food and room for everyone. But then things started to change, and one day, Benji was told that they would need to start their march early this year. Benji was confused. "But it's only February," Benji exclaimed. "Why do we have to start our march now?" Benji's parents looked down in sadness. "Well," they said, "the temperature is rising and the sea ice is melting early. And in the winter when it comes back, it is thinner and broken up." Benji was confused, but he looked around and began to see what his parents were talking about. Benji saw the cracks in the ice, and he could feel the sun beating down on him. A couple of days into the march, Benji and his family started to experience trouble. They realized that without stable sea ice, they would have to travel farther from their breeding grounds for food and shelter. One day, they came to a huge split in the ice. "What are we going to do now?" Benji asked. "Well, we'll rest here for the night and figure it out tomorrow. We might have to swim," said another penguin. The next day, all the penguins decided to swim across the split in the ice, but Benji and the other chicks faced trouble because they couldn't swim very strong yet. And when they got to the other side, Benji and the other chicks were very cold. "Oh no," said Benji's mom. "Their coats aren't waterproof yet and they might get hypothermia." But nevertheless, they continued on. As they marched on, Benji noticed that there were less penguins than before, and he asked his mom, "Where did they all go?" "Well," said his mom, "the population has declined by half because there is less sea ice and shelves for us to have families on." The next morning, Benji was very hungry because him and the others hadn't eaten in a couple of days. "Mom, when are we going to eat?" asked Benji. "I'm not sure. Since the ice is melting, our food chain has been disrupted, as it is harder to find food. But don't worry, we'll figure it out." One night, Benji couldn't sleep. "But Mom," he asked, "how are we going to survive when all these things are changing?" "Well, we are trying our best to adapt to these changes, but hopefully people will see that we are in danger and these changes will slow down." That night, Benji had a dream that he was floating on a small patch of sea ice with an egg. There were no other penguins or ice patches around. The smog-filled air swirled around them, and the once clear oceans were littered with garbage and dirt. Just as his small patch of ice began to melt and he sunk into the black water, things started to change. Benji could see people shutting down fossil fuel plants, biking everywhere, and reducing the provision of goods. Immediately, the smog and the carbon dioxide in the air began to clear, and the air became colder. Benji's world had transformed back to its original form of thick sea ice and abundant food and space. Benji woke up the next morning feeling hopeful. He turned to his mother and said, "Even though things seem bad now, I think that soon people will wake up and see that they are hurting us. And once they do, the greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide will reduce, and this place will be our home again." Benji's mom looked down in admiration and said, "I hope you're right." The end.